TimberSurf here with Vid Bit number 17. In this video we're going to talk about rotary tool brackets, Dremel end brackets, bits. So sometimes if you buy one of these devices they come with a great number of various bits. You can also buy the kits online in shops as a kit without the rotary tool. But what on earth do you do with them all? What are they all for? Well, I'm going to try and explain that in this video. And essentially, they fall into 5 categories. The first one is carving and engraving. The second is sanding. The third is cutting. The fourth is grinding and sharpening. And the fifth is cleaning and polishing. So let's have a look at number 1, carving and engraving. So this falls into 2 categories. Basically, those that are metal and the other which is non-metal. Commonly known as burrs, they come in a variety of shapes and forms and are designed for cutting non-ferrous metals or non-metals basically. So that's wood, plastic, etc., not glass. And they're pretty self-explanatory. You can carve and smooth and cut. The other non-metal is in a little category of its own, and these take the form of diamond burrs. These are designed particularly for very hard stone or glass, and should not be used on other things because they'll clog up too quickly and too easily. The other category is for metal, and these take the form of a similar looking device, but they usually have a spiral or a diamond profile to the teeth, and they are designed for metal, so they won't just blunt like the non-metal ones. Very difficult to tell the difference between them when they're in your box, but so try and keep them separate. The next category is sanding, and this takes the form of 2 types. There is a drum sander, which come in about 2 different sizes, and the sleeves that go on the outside of them can be had in various grades of grit, usually 60, 120 and 320. So for the finer job finishing off, use 320. For buffing something off, taking a big lot of material off, use the 60. There are also some flat discs for sanding. The ones that I got with my cheap Dremel equivalent actually have a hole in and are therefore designed to sit on top of a grinding disc, which is not the brightest of ideas. Dremel themselves actually do a hook and loop system that allows you to put a special tool on and then you just put the disc on top of the tool. Probably the better idea. The third category is cutting, and your kit will probably come with these small discs, which are fine, but they are very delicate and will break very easily. Don't worry about it, they're cheap and cheerful, but you should always wear glasses when you're using cutting discs, as they have a habit of flying off when they break. The better solution is to buy what are known as glass reinforced or fiberglass discs. They tend to be a little bit bigger, they last a lot longer, and they're far more robust and won't break so easily. The only issue is that they do make a thicker cut, which in most cases doesn't really matter. The fourth category is grinding and sharpening. This takes the form of these little stone looking things that are called stones, ironically, or grinding wheels or abrasive wheels. They are designed for metals, and they come in 2 formats. One is a silicon carbide, which is usually green, and the second is aluminium oxide, which can be brown, orange, pink and grey. Essentially, if you get a kit, it'll have pink and grey in it, and the grey is for steel and for heavy rough cutting, grinding. Sorry, not cutting, don't try and cut with them. The pink is for the softer materials, so white metals and brass and so forth, and it's a finer grit in it rather than the grey, which is a coarser grit, which will take more off and survive better on things like steel. But you can use the pink ones for steel to do a finishing surface. The fifth category is cleaning and polishing, and this can take the form of a few different things. The first one is black bristled brush, which are essentially for cleaning. So if you've got some heavy duty dirt, you can use those, usually with a bit of liquid soap or polishing compound, to help get dirt out of those little crannies and holes and things to clean something up. The second variety is a wire brush. They can be had in steel, the shiny silver, or in brass. So for the steel, you can go to town on steel, or you can use the brass on steel, but it's a finer abrasion, whereas the steel ones are tougher. So don't go to town with the brass ones, you'll just bend them out of shape. They're for more delicate work, where you don't want to damage the substrate, whereas the steel ones will take chunks out of anything that they touch, as well as the dirt that you're trying to clean. You can also get a nylon brush, which actually has abrasive particles on it, and that's good for getting in those really awkward spots where the standard brushes are too rigid to actually get into it. When it comes to polishing, you'll get a little bit that looks like it's got a screw on the end. And essentially, you just screw a mop onto the end of it, and this is basically either a cottony-like material or a cloth. And these should be used at the very highest speeds, and they should not be used dry. Their intention is to be used with a compound, a polishing compound. It usually comes with the kit, and basically you just dip the edge of the tool into the compound and then go to work. And they're great for polishing up fine metals, things like silver and gold and so forth. You can clean up your ring beautifully, really nice and shiny. It's actually what jewelers use to clean jewellery. So I think that covers it, but we have missed one out, and there is something called a flap wheel. And these are really in the sanding department, and they're designed for those less than flat areas. So if a drum or a sanding disc won't work, as in you've got a funny shaped roundy something that you want to sand up, then you can use these flap wheels, which will get into those little corners and angles and stuff that the other discs won't work, and it won't leave a flat surface. It'll shape itself to whatever it is that you're trying to sand. So I think that covers it. There are probably things out there that I haven't mentioned. Certainly there are some of these. These are a more modern invention for finer grinding of more complex shapes, which I haven't got any, so I can't do a review on them. And there's also some structured tooth tungsten carbide cutters. Yeah, they basically look like they've got a rough surface, no teeth as such, more like a grinding type of element, and they are designed for metal, and I haven't got any, but they are available. There are two other items I should mention. The first one is you can get an adapter for your Dremel or rotary tool, which makes it into effectively a router, and you can then use either your burrs, or specifically Dremel do sell little tiny routing bits, so that you can do very fine routing in wood and so forth. And of course the final one is drills. Now this really depends on the size of arbor that you've got, because essentially the normal size is 3mm or 3.2, and if you put a 3mm drill in, it works great. But how to get a 1mm drill in? Well, you can either buy drill bits that have a 3mm shank and a smaller sized drill bit, or if you've got one of those tools with a chuck, then obviously you can fit any size drill that you want. For those of you that haven't invested in a rotary tool, I just want to demonstrate how easy and effective using it to cut your rails is. Whether it's on the bench or on the layout, all you have to do is take your time, don't rush it, make sure that the wheel is at right angles to the track, and very gentle pressure, almost not pushing down at all, you're almost just letting the weight of the drill do the work, and you will end up with nice square cuts that need very little preparation for taking any burrs off. And of course you get a good cut on both sides, so you can actually use it to create gaps for isolation or expansion. Take a look at Vid Bit 12 about the extension adapter and wood saws and diamond saws. There's also an attachment that you can get that mounts to the bench to suspend your extended Dremel from a height which makes it easier to play with, and there's also a clamp that you can fix it in so that you can use it like, well, you can basically take the job to the cutting tool rather than the tool to the job. So that's it for this one, and I'll see you in the next bit. So from me, TimberSurf, it's ciao for now.